Conversation, 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 conversation. Life's journey. Hey, conversation, 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 conversation. Let's talk about it.
So, what do you think about those things? And then one other thing, Bimbo mentioned was just start from where you are. You can start with the shares, whatever you are, the stocks, just, put in what you have and then you can build upon it. And I'm still going to ask Jide this question because he works in the Nigerian systems. Well, maybe not Nigerian system, but at least he works in Nigeria. So I'm thinking for the average person, where it's not even sufficient for the month, how do you put aside anything? So,
is that to me, Muji?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see whether I understand everything. Thank you. What do I think about crowdfunding?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one was
insufficient
when you don't
have enough for the month. Yeah. Okay. Especially with the way the inflation, the way things keep, you buy gas for $50 today and then next tomorrow it's everywhere.
Yeah. Crowdfunding, personally, my approach is not something I've done a lot of, simply because the ones I've looked at, I think you need to do a lot of research, yeah, and make sure that what you're getting into, that there is a chance that you could get the desired return. So it wouldn't necessarily be the first thing that I would do, or I would suggest to somebody who's just looking to start investing. The things that Bimbo talked about more than adequately cover that basis. So I would say go in with caution, do the research. A better approach would be, even for somebody who was saying there isn't enough coming in, Bimbo touched on time is, one's friend when it comes to investing. So, I mean, an example that was used for me years ago was a lot of us buy coffee, we buy snacks, they're the little things that drips in the daily things, way of living that are pleasant. You're at work, you buy a sausage and they get you this drink, whether you're in the UK, US or Nigeria, we all have all of those habits. So minimizing or giving up one of those things and putting that amount aside regularly. If you're not able to invest it immediately, put it in savings, and then as it pulls to an amount that you can then get into an investment pot that you then know you don't have access to, so there isn't a temptation to dip into it, whether that's shares or whether that's a bond, depending on your either Bim or Jide can speak to this, your approach to risk, or do you want something that will give you a regular return? That regular return can be annual, it can be a few months down the line, so that at least until you get to a point where you are building enough that you can even put back that return that goes back into the investment and you're not touching it, would be the way that I would go about it, and I have gone about it, in my own life.
Thank you very much. So, because I know I had to do this in Nigeria, and I had to start it some months back. There's some accounts, I have this account, I have no credit card, I have no card to it. because that was the only way I could save myself, you understand, and say, okay, I can have something when I need it. Because with the card, I just realized that I could use it more than when I don't have a card to that particular account. I'm just using a personal, you know.
Yeah,
and
I did that as well.
I do not like to go into the bank. It's easier here, but in Nigeria, I hated going to the bank. So there was no way I was going to go into that account. And before I knew it, I was able to, like, the $1 naira to 2 naira were adding up, you know, to the time I wanted it. You understand? So that sometimes we just have to discipline ourselves to do some things, you know. So yeah. So Jude, as we're saying, it's not even enough. As you know, that's the reality of it right now. It's not even. And sometimes somebody may say, "What? You know, you have plans. But sometimes we don't plan for some things, you know. So, can you now talking to someone, an average Nigerian or an average, you know, man or person? What would you also advise?
Okay, thank you. Adding to what Bimbo and Jumoke have said, looking at it from the Nigerian perspective, I think most of us have a wrong notion about investing. I think most people think about what is called a downward investment instead of focusing on an upward investment. So if you have an orientation for upward investment, I mean, the opportunities will come. You don't have to have a large amount of money for you to start investing. I mean, when I started investing several years ago, I think I was earning about 20,000 naira per month then, after I left university. And I started investing in shares because that was the easiest way, you know, to invest. And the easiest way to invest. And I took it upon myself to do personal research on the companies I was investing in. Then I went to the National Library. I was in Akure then, we're into timber processing. Then I'll go to the National Library and get all these old dailies, Times, because they had them stored in the National Library. And I'll do an analysis, a trend analysis on the prices. And I started investing then to the extent that when I was going to prosecute my wedding some years down the line, it was part of my investments in shares that I offloaded to, you know, fund a portion of my wedding then. So if there is that mindset of upward investing, it's easier to find the opportunities. And even if you are earning so little, you must, I tell the people that work for me, you know, I tell them that no matter how low your income is, you can still save deliberately. Even if it's 200 naira, you are saving. Even if it is 1,000 in a month, because it's possible that you couldn't have been earning that much. So, and if you allow that disease of anytime your income rises, your expenses also rises to meet your income. If you allow that to influence your spending pattern, you will discover that even if you are earning much, you will still not have enough to do the investments. And you see that even if you are earning little, I mean, in Nigeria, we have what is called Ajo, where people put money together, which is a similitude of crowdfunding, where people put money together, even in the markets, where they don't make much, they put money together. Somebody takes this month, takes that month. I mean, we did it when I first started my career in the bank as an executive trainee. Our salaries were less than 100,000 then. we were doing pooling of monies together, and everybody takes a month. Then when you get that money in bulk, what most people do, like I said, they use it for downward investment. They use it for things that will not yield. I mean, you can actually deliberately decide you want to invest in things that will yield. I mean, when I started investing in a property, I started with a salary of less than 100,000 or thereabout. And what I did was that I analyzed the people that were building houses, the developers then in Nigeria. And I was lucky because when you are looking for something, you find it. When if you look very hard, you say when you seek, you'll find. So and I stumbled on one of these companies in Surulere they were developing property, just the outskirts of Lagos. And all they needed you to do was start contributing 20,000 per month. As long as you have a regular income, you contribute. At some point, they now helped us, they now processed the federal mortgage loan. And these were things that were difficult to get then. And use the federal mortgage loan for the balance. And, lo and behold, I became a house owner. A few years down the line, I mean, the value of the property appreciated in that place, and suddenly it was as if I became an instant millionaire. So that's it. So it has to be deliberate to seek for investments that will grow, not the ones that you buy a car. A car is a downward investment because the moment you take that car out of the dealer's shop, the value starts going down. It's an investment, it's a necessity, but it's a downward investment. You invest in a landed property that is secure, shares, if you are fortunate, it does not fluctuate too much. If you do some analysis, it could be, it's normally is an upward investment. So it is important that first you have the mindset of wanting to invest in upward investments, because these are the investments that will bring passive income in the future. They are the ones that will bring passive income so that you are making money while you are sleeping. I mean, I think that's the target. That when you retire, you don't have to lift a hand, but at least income. You're having some level of income that can sustain your expenses or your lifestyle. So it's important to develop the mindset of upward investment. Yes, every other thing is a necessity. There is no doubt about it. School fees, rent, and all that. But sometimes we do beyond ourselves. I mean, you know what your income is, and you are renting a house that is far bigger than your income. I mean, you can find a way to adjust these things. And when you do the crowd funding or the ajo, as it were, when you get some significant money, you can apportion it accordingly and say this will go into savings. I mean, it could be as little as a savings account that attracts some interest. And just like you said, you did not put a credit card to that account. You just open the account and say, whatever money I move into that, I'm not going to touch it at all. And you see the banks today, especially banks like Standard Chartered Bank, they have, or I'm not trying to market them anyway, that they call the investment services is like a mutual fund. But there are little bits of them. They call them wealth builders. Wealth builders for those that have little amounts of money. So they invest this little money in those funds. It could be 20,000 every month you want them to take out of your account. So they invested in the mutual funds in other currencies, especially the dollar, so that you can, you can protect yourself from the fluctuation of the risk in the FX market as it has to do with Nigeria. So there are several ways, but the first thing is to have the mind that I want to begin to think about upward investment. Then you begin to see the opportunities. Yes.
Moji, can I just jump in? Can I just
What?
jump in, please?
Yes, please.
Can I just jump in?
Sure.
Just on the back of what Judy said, because I think either it's terminology as used in different places, because when I hear crowdfunding as it's used here, it's a totally different idea to Ajo. Okay. So when I was speaking to that. If you're looking for an investment, there are people who would, you have a business plan, you're not able to get the money from a bank because you're not established, for example, you can set it up and look for crowdfunding, and people invest in that, as an example. So that's why I was saying it's not something that I would, you need to go in with research. But yeah, when Jide used it in the terms of Ajo, that I would have thought in my head as a mutual, pulling resources together, or whatever. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I know.
If I can speak to crowdfunding,
I know BC has experienced that too. BC
you have a lot of them in Nigeria, especially in the agricultural space. So you have organizations that, invest in agriculture, in farming, because you see a lot of them in that space. You have, and also in the real estate market. So you see them, set up these special purpose vehicles that enable them to pull funds from different people. So you have 100,000, you have 50,000, you have 1 million, and at the end of the day, they give you a level of interest, based on a return. I
will need to cut in. Sorry, I need to cut in because Tope has to pick up her mom. So Tope, please, can you just talk to us quickly on this bone and the hip and the knee replacement? So please hold that thought, Jide. We'll come back to you.
Sorry about that. I just So I don't know what your question is about that, but I believe you want to find out why do they have to do it?
Yeah, I mean, why is it so rampant? Is it with age? Is it just age?
Well, they do it because of I don't know if you've heard of osteoarthritis of the knee joints, where all the cartilage and ligaments are all worn and the bones are rubbing together. So that's, necessitates the replacement of the joint. And it's usually done to help, relieve pain in the knee joint and improve the function. And the knee is more prevalent because I guess, the weight bearing, everything goes on the knee. But they also did hip as well. And like I said, sometimes you just can't help it. You could get it. Some people have a higher pain threshold and they can manage and still go on with it. Exercises help. A lot of patients that I see that have arthritis in their joints, in their knee, especially their knee. What I always say is, and what science has shown is, the knee joint, the muscles help to support the knee joints. So once your muscles are strong, it helps, it helps to pull the joints effectively. So just imagine two bones are rubbing together and muscles are attached to it. If the muscles are strong, as they're moving, it helps to pull it apart, and helps to relieve the pain. But if you've got pain in your knee or your joint, your knee joint, you won't use that leg effectively. So the muscles would definitely get weak. And so it's a vicious cycle. So you get that pain. So people that I've seen that have got, arthritis in their knee joints, I always give them strengthening exercises, especially to improve, we'll call it the quads, the thigh muscle is the quads. That's very effective in pulling the knee joint. So like I always say, I've come back to exercises again. So, improving the muscle strength will help to manage arthritis. So it's a degenerative condition, not, it's not.
It's avoidable. That's what I'm trying to say. So is it avoidable?
Well, yes, to an extent, it's avoidable, with Some people get it, maybe if they've had accidents and they've injured their knee, maybe when they were young, over time, it could develop into an arthritic condition. Some people are born with different shaped bone, people with what we call the bow leg. After a while, with the pressure on the outer part can cause, arthritis. And also, like I said, even if you're doing any activities, sports or things like that, make sure your footwear, because everything needs to, take the pressure off the impact on a hard surface. So, like I said, it's a degenerative condition, and one of the treatments are exercising, so strengthening the bones to manage the pain. And then, if all else is done and nothing else can be done, then the total knee replacement or total hip replacement can
So squatting
can be
can help
considered.
also? Can squatting help to prevent it?
Well, squatting is a form of exercise that helps to strengthen the legs, the core, the glutes as well, various parts of the legs. So, but if you're in pain, you won't want to squat. So, there's some exercises that you can do that are less evasive, that can help to strengthen the muscles that surround the knee joint.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wish we could have it longer, but thank you so much for your
All right. I'm so sorry I have to leave. They will be at the station anytime and I have to pick them up. I'm so sorry. I didn't know we were going to do this now.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting
Bye,
you all, and I
Sarah.
really enjoyed all the conversation. Thank you.
Oh,
Bye
I
for
mean,
now.
bye, Tope.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So yeah, I just want to let us just continue on that line. So BC, she was talking about vitamins. And I know the importance of vitamin D, actually for those of us that are Black, we have the black skin or the dark skin, because I hear that the sun rays do not penetrate well enough. And that's why it's advisable that we use vitamin D, even though everyone should. But because we don't get the sun as much, also for those of us that live in the tropics. So what would you, what are some of the vitamins you can advise on also as we get older?
Okay, let me just clarify something. I don't have authority to advise because I'm not a pharmacist or a doctor, but what I take vitamin D. It's so important to take your vitamin D, very, very important. Then I just take general multivitamins and just eat well. Just, as you grow older, just, play with your diet. You want to be less on carbs because, your blood sugar. You have to be very careful because, you don't want to start having things like, diabetes and, high cholesterol and things like that. You have to make it intentional, checking your bloods, your blood works, because, that's where they can easily pick things, if you have high cholesterol, they can tell you, and so that, you start, making adjustments to your diet, doing your exercises, so it's, resting. We talk about multivitamins. It's not just multivitamins. You have to sleep well, you have to eat well, you have to, like they say, exercise. And exercise, like, Topper was saying, 150 minutes a week is advisable. Now, some people might not be able to do that, but you can do it in like Topper was saying, reminders to stand. You're moving around, even with the housework chores or things you're doing, you're moving, you're counting your steps. So you have to be deliberate and intentional to do these things, I mean,
And it doesn't cost anything for us to keep moving as long as
okay, I'll give you an example. And I'm sure my neighbor can hear me. So I have a neighbor next door. She's white and she works from home. But guess what she does? Every time, 5 times a day, I see her moving out, walking. So I now asked her, what are you doing? And she says, oh, she's going on a walk. And I, she go on the walk now and I see her and she's back. And I was like, so soon. She said, she's made it intentional. She does 5 minutes. So while she's walking, breaks and she does it like, at least she must go 5 minutes, walk back. And, every day you see her like almost 5 times. So sometimes I joke with her. In fact, she's even encouraged me now that, you know, sometimes I see her on the road and I'll ask her like, what's this number of work? And she said, oh, this is the 5th one. And I say, well, I'm just going on my 1st one, you know? So it's intentional, making that conscious thing, you know, because as you're growing older, your body is like what you could do when you were 20. Your body can't do it. Your body is aging, can't do what you were doing when you're 20. Your ab muscles, everything, you know, they're all aging. So you have to do the intentional, and it doesn't have to cost you. It doesn't cost her. She's not going to the gym, but she does it religiously Monday to Sunday. Every day you see her walk and she'll come back 5 minutes, 2 minutes, she's doing it, you know. So if you can't afford it, always walk around things that you can afford, you know. You don't have to spend to, you know, there's always something that at everybody's level you can afford that you can do, and it's going to be, you know, better for you, you know.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It doesn't have to cost anything. Just have
Doesn't
to
have
keep
to cost
moving.
you. Yeah, you have to keep
Yeah,
moving.
just have to keep moving. All right, so I'm going to just ask, you know, our final questions, and I'm going to go back to Jide because I know he also has to leave soon. So you were saying something about crowdfunding. I know BC has gotten into trouble with that. Did you get your money back, BC?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay, so please, can you kindly share?
Okay, thank you. I mean, that which reminds me of what Jumoke said when she was talking about crowdfunding, about being very, very careful, doing your research very well. I mean, crowdfunding in Nigeria is a good model, you know, because it helps, it enables those that, you know, cannot set up companies or cannot, they don't have the time to monitor how businesses run. Enables them to have a part or a piece of the business and, I mean, get some decent returns from such businesses. But like Jumoke was trying to allude, you must do a proper due diligence. Because, you know, the Nigerian market is largely uncertain. I mean, some of them have good intentions and some of them start very well. But the dynamics of the market catches up with some of them. And I mean, everything, the whole investment suddenly just get fretted away. And they now start having several issues, investors, all that. And you've seen a couple of those happen. And you also see some people who set up those things fraudulently. The intention is to, you know, extort money get money from people and ferry it away. So proper due diligence. I have never been involved. I was planning to be involved in one that happened in Lagos Business School. They were going to build hosts. So you have some very genuine ones if you take time to, you know, search for it. I mean, the one that happened in Lagos Business School, they were trying to build hostels for their new campus. And they needed to do crowdfunding to execute that project. So for such, easier to invest in that. And it was a decent return. It was even, at that time, it was a return that was even higher, way higher than the inflation rate. So it was very lucrative at that time. And then they executed the first phase. I think they were about to start the second phase recently. So it's a good model if you have genuine people that are very knowledgeable about the industry, that are setting it up, and they are able to, you know, tackle the headwinds in the Nigerian market. You know, but everything has risk, even life. Stepping out of your house, even staying even in your house is a risk. So there's an element of risk to everything. So, but at least in doing those things, you take a calculated risk by doing a proper due diligence. Yeah.
You know, one of the things from hearing from you, from Bimbo and about finances is you have to do your own research. You have to, but I know for someone like me, I'm like, okay, does it work? Just tell me, let me just do it. But I mean, from hearing from you now, I know like you can also look into it. You understand? You can look into it. Who knows? Maybe the person that was doing it before, maybe to get to your own turn. And like when they're doing, like when we do this pyramid, those
pyramid schemes,
skills, all those things that you tell you, by the time it gets to my own turn, most of the time,
it collapses.
So I'm like, I'm not going to do this thing again. So, but yeah.
Sorry, can I quickly interfere? Sorry to do this. This is a question for Bimbo and Jide. For the fact, knowing that, where, Bimbo said investment has to do with time, and we're in our 50s now. What are the sure or the most important investment that at 50 we should all have in place? I know we're talking about stocks and shares and something, maybe by the time your stock builds up, it takes a while. But things like, we're looking at all that. We're not looking at, because health also is in investment. So we're looking at things that at 50, everybody must have your life insurance. Very important, your work protection insurance, or what, critical illness, we never can say, anything happens, yes, we talk about money, but you have to be alive and you have to be well for you to even enjoy that money. You understand? So what are the components that at 50, everybody must be ticking that I have this in place, Yeah, investment, building houses is,
Yeah, sorry, can I also add something? I've been thinking about my children. Do you understand? With the beats that they get, I'm thinking, how can I help them put this into investment that could, you understand? I know someone has told me before they should get their life insurance as early as possible. Someone said, oh, health insurance, of course, that is sorted, but life insurance, I mean, what do you think about these things? Of course, this is another thing. I didn't think we we're going to go this far, but if you can just answer us quickly,
Well, so in terms of insurance, whoever gave you the advice about getting life or critical illness insurance as soon as possible, is a very wise person. Now, there's a balance, because what's the point of insurance? The point of insurance is to pay out to people who are dependent on you. So while a child could get life insurance as incredibly cheap, really, there's nobody dependent on that child. So really, it's a balance. But as the younger you are, the cheaper it is. So as soon as you start having dependents, yes, especially when you have kids, you then want to start thinking about life insurance, and as early as possible. But so going to the question about being in your 50s, what sort of what are the basics that you should have? Unfortunately, there's no magic wand that we can wave. It's still time when it comes to investments. There's some building blocks that you should have in place. So it goes back to the point I was making earlier about making sure that you have at least some money that you can easily access if you got into an emergency and you needed funds urgently. That needs to be there. Things like critical illness insurance, we do have those in the UK. I'm not sure what they're called in other jurisdictions, but that also, as we get older, it's important. But then if you're just getting it now, it's probably one of the most expensive things ever. Ideally, again, those are the sort of things that you should have had from years ago. But what the critical illness insurance does is to help you if you became critically ill and couldn't work. That would pay out so that at least some of your key expenses are covered. you can pay off your mortgage if you've still got any, you know, things like that. So things like that, the critical illness insurance would cover it. But it still goes down to this thing in terms of thinking about, so that's when you're thinking about the building blocks. Going forward, unfortunately, it's still time. There's no insurance, sorry, there's no investment that I can tell you today. If I knew it, I'd be a millionaire now because I would be selling it to everybody. But there isn't one that anybody can tell you today.
But that is the meaning of investment. That means it's not a quick return, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. But then you hear, and people still fall for this, which is such a shame. You know, oh, there's this thing, you know, it's, I know when crypto came, crypto was all the rage, you know, this time and the previous times before. And I remember there was this young guy I was mentoring at the time. He refused to do any work. He's got masters from some of the top unis in the UK, but as far as he was concerned, he was going to put everything into all he had and all his time into crypto. And you know, I was saying to him, yes, it's going up now, but then what are the fundamentals behind crypto? What exactly is it that is pushing it up? It's people like you jumping on it that's pushing the price up. And then when people lose confidence, what happens? And then shortly after that, you know, things crashed. It was him, his dad, some money that they'd taken from their grandma, you know, things like that. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes the lure of the quick return, you know, something is doing incredibly well. You think, oh, it's going to go on forever. But oftentimes, it's just a lure. It's going nowhere. So, like Jumoke has talked about a couple of times, research. Jide also talks about that. Do your research. And oftentimes, if it's too good to be true, a lot of times it is. So believe in instincts. Yeah.
Can I just comment on the back of what Venus just shared? I feel that, you know, sometimes we started with BC talking about people who are going through life-changing experiences, whether that's terminal or, you know, cancer by nature of what it is that you look back and you think, what could I have done differently? And I think, you know, she talked about living intentionally, living in the moment. Where I'll be, you know, it's good to plan, it's good to do all of the research and everything, but there's also a big thing about living through experience. So for that young person, why it is good to do some of these things when you're young is that you only learn by looking back. Now, if that person wanted to go into crypto and blah, 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 they did it, hopefully, having come out of it in such a way, they would be able to speak to somebody else to say, here are the learnings, and this is why I don't think it is a good idea. For me, I did one of those multi-level thing that the pyramid schemes that we were talking about. And I remember I collected the first 500, it was 500 pounds then. And I was like, oh, wow, you know, this thing is working. It was literally 500 in the space of 2 weeks. I think I put 500 and you collect, yes. So my brother wanted to invest, and then I put in another 500 and I invested that. And of course, we know how the story of those things is fantastic, but then it all went down the drain. And after that, there was nothing you could, that was my own life lesson about crowdfunding and all of these things, because it was like, okay, regardless of what anybody is saying, their own experience was. The person that introduced me collected 25K by being in this same thing. But she didn't turn around and say, oh, because I brought you, let me divvy up the money that I collected and you can take. No. So you need to do the research for yourself and take the lessons as we're making these things. If there was something I could look back on and say what I would say to that young version of myself, is seize those opportunities. Go in, you know, don't overthink it. Go in, make the decisions, but keep learning and failing forward. take the decisions, look at the experience. If it works out, wonderful. If it doesn't work out, take the learning from it, apply it so that you're doing better, And if I were to then extend that, I think at this age, as we're planning for 10 years, 20 years, or whatever down the line, I think of life in terms of quadrants, my health, my spiritual well-being, financial, family. What are the things that I'm putting into all of these pots? The things that you're doing every day, make it intentional in terms of what am I doing about my health? I see pictures of, there's a 70-something-year-old woman that I follow who only made the decision to start exercising at 60. And when you look at the before and after, it's just remarkable. And I look at people like that and I think, I want to be this woman. So what are the things that I can start doing from now? Take the walk regularly, do my exercises, just keep moving, eat well, eat in a varied way, take the supplements, all of the things that we've talked about. Creating that oasis that Jide talked about. How am I showing up every day? What am I putting into the pot of my relationship with people as I interact at work, family, at home, all of that? How do I show up? Do I get myself easily worked up when things don't go to plan? Do I have a regular connection, a spiritual basis that underpins the things that I do? Financial, looking back, okay, if you're not where you think you ought to be at this point, but from where you are now, what can you do? We talked about investments being on a trend, even if it's money that you think the smallest amount, and I don't mind putting this in and forgetting about it, 10 years down the line, it will be a multiplied version just by virtue of time, money, and how that whole equation works. Just do it. So it's things like that that I feel we need to be more intentional about what we're putting in aspects.
Wow, thank you so much. I was just thinking as you're talking, I just remembered something that someone said. They were asking him, when is the best time to start to grow the tree or to plant the tree? And he said 25 years ago. I was like, 25 years ago, I can't go back. He said, so when is the next good time? Now. So as you said, if I'm going to improve on my life, I'm talking to myself now, I need to change my lifestyle. You understand? They say it takes madness to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. If you keep doing it the same way, you're going to get the same result. So if I want to change my future or my finances in the future, instead of regretting what I did wrong, I can do something about it today. And from what we have learned today, you can get into a job, take what you get from there and put it into something and continue. Or you can refuse to take the cup of coffee. I see people, young kids buying coffee for $5 every day. 5 times 7 is $35 times another, times 4. That's $140 or thereabout dollars that could be put into something else. Or cigarettes. Imagine one packet for $6 and they multiply that, and some say they take 3 a day. That's $18 per day. Multiply that in the next 40 years. See how much money you have wasted on something that you felt like you couldn't do without, but really you can do without it. So these are some of the things I've picked up from what you said. Of course, exercise. I didn't want to hear that, but I can't do anything about it. I have to keep trekking. Or in Jude's words, we keep trucking. And then we talked about the oasis. You just have to. It's something you have to do for yourself. And you can build that through your belief in God, your faith in Christ and everything. Just ensure that you surround yourself and you keep it the way it should be. And our relationships, as I said, most of the times is the family. It's those people that become sisters or become brothers that will be there at that time. And if at this age we have not learned to do things the right way, not because we want to be seen by others. As someone said, why do we want to wear the dress to impress people that we do not like? Do you understand? Why are you going to spend money to do this for things, people that you say you don't like? You understand? So let's put ourselves, our health, our family, other relationships, and thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time. I know my next speaker is going to be talking on mental health, and I'm looking forward to that. He's a psychologist, no, psychotherapist. So we're going to be talking to us on mental health, and I look forward to that conversation and how the cells divide and all of those things. We'll talk about all of those things also with our other guests. But I'm looking forward to, many more of these conversations. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bimbo. Thank you, Jumoke, Kojide. I know you have to go now. And thank you, BC. And if you can say one statement, what would it be? What's one statement from each of us? Can we do that quickly as we round up? Yeah, we'll start with Jide.
Intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, but sorry, Jumoke, you already said something. What do you say?
Living intentionally.
Living intentionally. Yes. Anybody else that is willing to talk?
Mine will be, don't look back, don't worry about regrets or whatever. Just face forward. What can I do? What can I do? Don't forget about the past,
The errors of the past. Yeah. Thank you.
So mine is every moment is a starting point.
Mhm.
Yeah, so every moment you can start
Right away.
to
Thank you
change.
very much.
Yeah.
The change can start now.
Yeah.
Yes, Beams.
In exactly the same vein, you're where you are, just start.
I'll start. It takes nothing. Thank you very much. And thanks to Tope also for all we've learned from her too. Thank you all. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Conversations with Moji. Thank you for watching. Bye.
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 Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.